Welcome back to our channel, Vagabonds. Today, we're diving into a pressing issue that threatens the Caribbean's reputation as a top tourist destination. Behind the turquoise waters and lush beauty lies a concerning problem: homicides and gun violence. It's a problem that many governments as well as regional institutions such as CARICOM have been battling with for many years. Join us as we explore the reasons behind this issue and its impact on the region. The alarming statistics. CARICOM has noted that across the region, the screaming headlines make for somber reading and reflection on the cheap value now placed on life, on the irrationality of the use of guns at the drop of a hat, and the ease with which guns have become more accessible to almost anyone with nefarious intentions. When we look at the numbers, it's evident that the Caribbean's homicide rates are a cause for concern. Several countries in the region have some of the highest homicide rates in the world. In 2022, for instance, the Turks and Caicos, with a population of approximately 45,000, had a staggering homicide rate of 77.6 per 100,000. Jamaica topped the list among sovereign countries in the Latin America and Caribbean group, with a rate of 52.9 per 100,000. These statistics paint a sobering picture. Even though some countries on the chart have small populations, their inclusion provides a comprehensive overview of the impact of homicides in the Caribbean. It's worth noting that islands like Turks and Caicos and St. Vincent and the Grenadines witnessed steep increases in their homicide rates in 2022 compared to previous years. So what are the reasons behind the Caribbean's concerning homicide problem? Let's explore the key factors contributing to this issue. Number 1. Drug trafficking. While the geography and beauty of the Caribbean has been plastered on the covers of many travel magazines and travel blogs, it has also made the region a haven for drug trafficking. The region's location between South and North America and the proximity to major drug-producing countries like Colombia and Venezuela, as well as major drug-consuming countries such as the United States, make it a prime transit point for drug traffickers. From South America, drug smugglers make their way through the Caribbean's many islands and coastal areas, which provides numerous ports and harbors for drug traffickers to conduct their illicit trade. The vast expanses of water in the region also provide cover for drug smugglers to move undetected, and the many small islands and cays offer hiding places for drugs. Unfortunately, many Caribbean small island states lack the necessary financing, resources, and training to combat this well-organized trade. As a result, the porous borders and weak law enforcement in the region make it easier for drug traffickers to operate. This in turn contributes to the proliferation of illegal arms and fuels violent clashes between rival gangs and law enforcement. In islands such as Puerto Rico, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago, gun trafficking is rampant, with small arms from the mainland US flooding these countries. A 2015 study from the Inter-American Development Bank noted that 73% of homicides in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago were committed with firearms, while 82% of homicides were committed with firearms in the Bahamas. Efforts to address this issue include national campaigns, like Jamaica's Get the Guns initiative, where a reward system was put in place for the surrendering of illegal weapons. In August of 2022, the Prime Ministers of Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago announced intentions to work together to address the flow of illegal weapons into both countries by collaborating and sharing information. While on a regional level, CARICOM continues to call upon the US to assist the region in cracking down on illegal gun shipments into the Caribbean. Such advocacy has in part led to United States Vice President Kamala Harris announcing that the US would invest more than $100 million in the Caribbean region to deal with a number of urgent issues, one of which is a crackdown on the weapons trafficking. In an interesting development in March of 2023, Antigua and Barbuda, Belize and the Bahamas, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago joined a brief filed by Mexico in the United States Court of Appeal in the First Circuit in support of a US $10 billion suit to hold US gun manufacturers liable for the harm caused by their products. Mexico, like the Caribbean and many South and Central American countries, are battling with high homicide rates and illegal gun flow, with Mexico arguing that lax gun laws in the United States have allowed for the flow of illegal firearms into other countries, fueling violence and crime.
This lawsuit is part of a larger effort to hold gun manufacturers accountable for their role in this issue. According to a statement from the Mexican government, a favorable decision in the Court of Appeals will allow the government to prove its case on the merits, that the gun manufacturers' marketing and distribution practice amount to actively facilitating the trafficking of their guns into Mexico.
Gang violence.
The illegal drug trade has also contributed to the rise of gang violence in the Caribbean. Traffickers often rely on local gangs to protect and distribute drug shipments. This involvement in criminal activities leads to turf wars, revenge killings, and other forms of violence, all fueled by the use of illegal firearms. Gang violence is a significant contributor to the high homicide rates, particularly in urban areas. In many instances, when one looks at the classification of homicides, gang violence accounts for a significant percentage of total homicides committed within Caribbean countries. Statistics from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime highlighted that in some Caribbean countries such as Jamaica, as much as 70% of homicides are believed to be gang-related. Additionally, a U.S. travel advisory for Belize dated October 2022 noted that significant portion of violent crimes is gang-related, with local police lacking the resources and training to respond effectively to serious criminal incidents. While the majority of homicides may be due to gang violence, it comes at a cost to society, as gang violence creates a climate of fear and instability that can have serious economic and social consequences. Across the Caribbean, citizens continually express concern about this worrying situation, while businesses argue that the situation has increased their security costs and threatens investment. Given the complexity of gang violence, addressing the issue requires a multifaceted approach that includes regional and international cooperation, given the connection of many gangs to the illicit drug trade, which, as we outlined earlier, operates in a well-coordinated way across the Americas.
Weak law enforcement.
Weak and ineffective law enforcement systems have long been identified as a major challenge in the Caribbean. Insufficient training and a lack of resources hampered the ability of law enforcement agencies to combat violent crime, including homicides. The United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime have also commented on this issue, noting that the weak law enforcement and judicial systems in some Caribbean countries have made them vulnerable to the activities of criminal organizations. As such, criminals may be emboldened by the perception that they can act with impunity due to the weak enforcement of laws and lack of accountability for their actions. Some Caribbean countries have lower homicide detection rates. That is, with Trinidad and Tobago recording a detection rate of a mere 15.1% in 2021. Like many countries across the world, the scourge of corruption is sometimes a problem within law enforcement agencies, which further undermines efforts to combat crime. As reported by Inside Crime, when the Dominican Republic's new president assumed office in 2020, he quickly proclaimed that police reform would be a central focus of his administration, as corruption has long facilitated international drug shipments passing through the country. A new approach. Given the sustained high levels of violent crime and an upsurge in homicides in many islands of the Eastern Caribbean, in 2020, CARICOM heads of government decided to treat crime and violent behavior as a public health issue. Treating crime as a public health issue involves shifting the focus of crime prevention from solely being a matter of law enforcement and criminal justice to a broader approach that includes identifying and addressing the underlying social, economic, and health-related factors that contribute to criminal behavior. In other words, this approach emphasizes the role of social determinants of health, such as poverty, inequality, and unemployment, in driving crime and violence, and emphasizes the need for multi-sectoral collaboration and community engagement in addressing these issues. In April of 2023, a regional symposium was held in Trinidad and Tobago, focusing on crime and violence as a public health issue. The event brought together heads of government, public health experts, psychologists, youth representatives, and other key stakeholders. The resulting declaration highlighted the commitment to comprehensive criminal justice system reforms, strengthening forensic capabilities, and regional collaboration to enhance legislation. As we wrap up our exploration of the Caribbean's concerning homicide problem, it is evident that urgent action is needed to address the root causes and ensure a safer future for the region. The safety and well-being of millions of people living in the region, as well as its reputation as a tourist destination, are at stake. Addressing drug trafficking, gang violence, and strengthening law enforcement systems require collective efforts and sustained political will. As such, it is crucial for governments, regional institutions like CARICOM, and international partners to work together, pooling resources, expertise, the best practices to combat the forces that undermine the region's security. By strengthening law enforcement, improving detection rates, and implementing comprehensive criminal justice reforms, the Caribbean can create an environment where citizens feel safe and businesses can thrive. That's all for now, vagabonds. Until the next video.